100% of our stress and trauma is stored in our fascial tissue. It all starts with 6 breaths. Our sleep studies show that you drop into your REM sleep within about 45 minutes when you do an organ reset. Our clients were mainstream celebrities in India, like Hrithik Roshan. We have new science now that says fascia is the brain of the body. Fascia is photonic, means it travels through light. We have people every single day reporting to us the removal of type 2 and type 1 diabetes through fascial maneuvers and fasting.
A lifelong biohacker who believes that the human body was designed to heal itself, helping people heal chronic pain and trauma, and the co-founder of the Human Garage, whom we famously know for blessing us every single week with amazing fascial maneuvers. Our guest today on the Settle or Be Better podcast is Mr. Garry Lineham, who's going to be talking to us about fascial maneuvers, organ reset, and a lot more. So welcome, Mr. Garry, and over to you. Why don't you begin by telling us a little bit about your personal health and well-being story and your current work through Human Garage?
Sure, absolutely. I've been a 30-year journey trying to figure out how to fix this body of mine. So I was an athlete, a bodybuilder back in the 80s, just after Arnold days, and was going professional, and fell under a 600-pound squat, left me having back pain my whole life. So from my early teens all the way through into my adult, I was trying to solve it. Spent several $1 million going around seeing every practitioner, every modality on the planet with $2.5 million in 20 years. And only to find out that I still wasn't okay. So, and in 2011, actually in 2010, I decided to take things into my own hand. I had a personal situation where I had so much neurological distress, 8 concussions, wasn't able to at one point function and use a computer. And I said, if my life is going to be like this, I'm not going to live like this. So I'm either going to end my life or I'm going to figure a way through this. And that started this journey of becoming a practitioner. So we started the Human Garage after working with a practitioner called David Rubenstein. With the Rubenstein method, we started the Human Garage because we were looking for answers, and we knew that there was truth in all these modalities that we'd seen. But what we found was that they all had these truths involved, but they all failed at one point, and that's what I was experiencing. So we were looking for truth amongst all of the modalities and all the situations that are out there. And funny enough, that the Human Garage was the first time in my life from being a teenager that I was out of pain, but I was receiving treatment 3 to 5 to 6 days a week. And that wasn't a practical solution because I was out of pain and doing really well. But if I went on vacation, I'm back in pain. So when the pandemic came, we had been developing these movement processes. Our clients were mainstream celebrities in India, like Hrithik Roshan was a client. We had a lot of the mainstream celebrities that you would know out there as personal clients of the Human Garage or myself. And so I was looking for ways to move my body and get myself out of pain. We developed these processes that we were giving celebrities and professional athletes that couldn't come see us all the time, that they could help themselves. And it just seemed logical for us to take those and move them into some sort of self-care routine. So during the pandemic was the first time in my life that I stopped working. I'd worked since I was 9 years old. And I had the opportunity to sit back and start trying some of these processes, these movement processes. And so Jason, Cynthia, and myself, my 2 partners in the Human Garage today, we started doing these movements every day, which became Fascial Maneuvers. We just started every morning religiously going out and doing it. And within a short period of time, within a couple months, our whole lives have changed. And need for any care from a practitioner had gone away, but we started having all these emotional changes and perceptual changes. So the fascial maneuvers today is like a year ago we had 13,000 people, a year and a half ago on social media. Today, 2.5 million, and we have about 20 million people around the world doing this. It's in colleges and schools and universities and hospitals right now, and because it works. And it works so well for us, we decided to make it free of charge to the entire world. So that's been our journey, and our journey from there was how do we continue to do that? Free of charge means free of charge. So everything that people need to learn to help themselves is that way. So that's a little journey in how we got here. And what it's done for us is we've decided that the best way to handle this is to just continue our journey of self-healing and transformation and just share our journey along the way. So our entire system is built with people helping people. People that come in brand new, they're helped by people that are doing our 28-day reset, which is the foundation of transformation. And people that are in the 28-day reset are helped by our lifestyle artists, which are the people who are taking the tool of how to heal your body and then living it for years. So it's been a journey, and being here today allows me to come and say to you that no matter what your issue is in your body, whether it's emotional, physical, perceptual, whether it's an issue with an organ or digestion, or whether you just got chronic pain of any kind, there's a way out of this, and the body was designed to heal itself, and we're just finding better ways to make that happen today.
Absolutely. That's an amazing story. And I have to say that you have been one of our most generous guests till date. Like, I can see how genuinely we want to be there for people. You want to help them out. I mean, nobody has ever given me something to do before, a homework to do before a podcast, like something to try on myself and be so good with the follow up of it as well. So I'm really glad to have experienced that. And I can't wait to do it with my family as well. My mom was also completely on board with it. And, we can't wait to dive more into it. So thank you so much for sharing all of this with us here today, and I can't wait to dive into our episode here today.
So that being said, is that we took a look at, and you just had done it a couple times, the maneuvers. Your face had completely changed. Your face became changed its symmetry, changed its presentation, skin color, in just a couple of times of doing this. And we have everybody today looking for beauty and symmetry, and they're looking to do new creams and new potions and Botox and fillers and stuff like that. But just in a few short minutes, you were able to literally change the symmetry of your face, your forehead, your jaw symmetry, everything like that, all by yourself. How did that make you feel?
That was amazing. I mean, I was surprised with your email when you said that between the time we discussed and or till our podcast date, there will be some changes immediately, because that was like unbelievable. How is it going to give me such great results in just a few times of doing it? But it was actually amazing, and I can't wait to take it ahead. And it's really, it feels good to practice these maneuvers. Like, it's hard to stop at just what you have told me to do for this long, and I can't wait to do all of the other ones as well in my daily routine. So that's been really amazing.
Yeah, it doesn't take a lot, and that's the reason why I believe that it's going so fast. Number one, it's free to the world. Number two is we have practitioners, hundreds of thousands, and giving them to patients every day because it works, and it works the first time that you do it. The very first time that you do a fascial maneuver, we don't have science behind it. We have our science. We've researched it and studied it, but we don't have any mainstream science. What we have noticed is that instantaneously, the first time you do it, it works. And we have noticed that through brain scans and that, as soon as you do that first twist, it opens up something in our mid region of our brain called our limbic system. That's our emotional centers. And we're not exactly sure what it does, but we are observing that it is making changes in people, both physically, perceptually, and emotionally.
Absolutely. And to begin with, let's start with understanding what are fascial maneuvers, because when I started doing it, it's not something that I've experienced ever before. It's not like any other exercise or, any sort of a physiotherapy or even yoga. If someone would see the stretches and think about it, right? It's completely different. The way you breathe, the way you sort of have this uh, presence in your body at that moment, and when you are feeling your organs and when you're doing those stretches, it's completely different. So what is fascial maneuver, and how can we best understand it?
Well, think about this. Even yoga, it's thousands of years old. It's a tradition, but it was based upon what we knew about the body thousands of years ago. We knew we thought the body was brain dominant, muscles and skeletons, nervous system. We thought that's what ran the body, but today we actually know that that's not true. And this is the difference between science and medicine. Science will tell you that the brain moves the body, or that medicine will tell you the brain moves the body, but science is now saying, wait a second here. That brain has 100 billion nerve endings, but your fascia has 100 trillion nerve endings. and meaning that your fascia has way more perception than your brain. So it makes us re-question what it is. The brain is just a processor that interprets the programming of the body. And yoga was designed as a way of balancing and stretching the muscles predominantly, and keeping the body through muscles. But when I stretch a muscle, I'm creating a sympathetic response. So my body fires adrenaline, norepinephrine, and cortisol. And then, so I go up in stress hormones and then down for calming. Fascial maneuvers doesn't stretch a muscle. It stretches the fascia directly. And fascia itself is the intelligence, or is the brain of the body. And so when the fascia is loose, everything else automatically starts to release. So if you think about this, we used to think of the body as being bones being structure, right? And that's simply not true, because none of the bones in the body touch. Only the teeth, the ribs, and the ear, the bones touch. So structure is like that beam over there where it's nailed together. If we get touch in our body, then we are instantaneously in pain. So bones can't be structure. So the question is, what are they? And this starts to draw up all these questions. Well, we have new science now that says fascia is the brain of the body, and fascia is photonic, means it travels through light. Information moves at the speed of light, where our nervous system is the speed of sound. So we have all this new science that's coming out telling us about the body, but we are still observing ancient practices. So this fascial maneuvers was based upon the idea of the new science of the body. And it's not to degrade any of the ancient practices, because they're still there and they still work. But what we have found is that they stopped working, because if they were worked properly in today's society, people would all be healthy and good, but they're not. They're the opposite of that. So we were looking for that missing link. And here's what we found is we found that today we have suicide, disease, dysfunction, mental, physical, emotional at its peak, higher than any time in the history of mankind. And we have, part of that is we have forces on our body that we never had thousands of years ago. We have chemicals in our food, chemicals in our sky. We have EMFs that are around us. We have all these social rules and constructs we've got working all day long, which we didn't do before. So those ancient practices were what took care of us in those days. But today we have a completely different need for the body. So we needed a new therapy or a new process in order for the body to adapt. And fascial maneuvers, since it works on fascia is what is the intelligence of the body. And your bones, your muscles, your tendons, your nerves, your glands, your lymph nodes all exist in and around the fascia. So that means if I work on fascia, all of them are getting the benefit. But if I work on my muscle, my bone, my fascia, my nerves, my glands, and my lymph nodes all have to still figure a way to help themselves. Fascia is the top of it. And furthermore, fascia is perceptual. Like, for example, if I was to tell you that your mother had a car accident and you believe me, I got a text message on my watch and said, your mom had a car accident, you believe me, your whole body goes into shock.
Right.
That means your system, your brain, your heart, your respiration, your lymphatic system, everything goes into contraction, shock, hormones start firing. Then I tell you 10 minutes later, oh, it's not your mother, it was somebody else. Your whole body would come out of shock. And it would take about 4 to 6 hours for those chemicals to leave your body, but the shock would still even be there. So on a mere perception of threat, every system in your body capitulated or shut down just on the perception. And if that's true, then perception is the highest state of awareness. So if I'm going in to work on your muscles and your bones and giving you supplements and stuff like that, but I don't deal with your perception, like, do I believe I'm okay? Do I believe I'm safe? Which fascial maneuvers works on emotions and perceptions. Then I'm only getting part of the solution. And that's what we found. We just found that life has changed, people have changed, and our modalities and our way of handling it haven't.
Right. Amazing. That was really well explained, and I hope that this introduces our audience to the fascial maneuvers and gives them a basic understanding of this. And to begin with, so today stress is a major issue, right? Like we go throughout our day being so stressful day in and out, and we don't even realize or do something very consciously about it. And we do store stress and trauma in our body, and you guys also talk about it so much in detail, and you help so many people address trauma and stress in their body. Where do you think do we store most of our stress and trauma in the body, and how can we sort of work on releasing it?
100% of our stress and trauma is stored in our fascial tissue. We don't have trauma in our brain. Our brain doesn't have an emotion. So if our brain doesn't have an emotion, it can't process or manage stress. It can tell you that you have stress. And then furthermore, what is stress? What people think stress is, like their jobs, their social situations, their government, even the chemicals that they're consuming. Those aren't stress. Stress is my reaction to it. For example, if I go out and party all night and I'm hungover, even light or light noises are stressful, right? So if my body's hungover from all of these things that are happening, then my response to the world is stressful. So stress happens in our body. Stress is a component of our body. And our trauma is, our bodies are meant to process stress. And when we hold stress in our body, it becomes trauma. And that's why people there say, well, I wasn't abused. I had a healthy family situation, all that, but I have all this trauma. Well, where did the trauma come from? It's one of the most common things people are saying today. My own PTSD about something. Like, where did that come from? Well, it had to have come from somewhere, and it's an accumulation. So it's an accumulation of stress that the body can't process. When we take the body out of stress consistently, every day, 1 to 2 times per day, and you do that for over 28 days in a row, the trauma starts to release from the body. And that trauma releases, then the body can process more. It's really that simple. And we've made it into this, we've got to go talk to people. If talk therapy was working, all of America would be healthy. But they're not. It's not that we don't use it. It's important to talk things, but we can talk all day long. But the trauma and the memory, like, what is a trauma? You have a memory that's in your computer. So it's right here. It's in my hip, moving forward in my life. Okay.
Right.
And I'm angry about it. So it's in my liver. So that trauma that I had, that incident, then goes to my liver for an emotion, anger, and then my brain perceives it and then tells a story about it. So we can do all the work up here that we want, but if we don't address this and address this, we have no chance of removing the trauma and the stress out of our body.
True. So what would be some maneuvers that our audience can go back with today in order to sort of address this, and something that might be a lot easier for them to do on their own every single day?
Well, first of all, if you're going to somebody else to remove your trauma and stress and fix your body, you're already in the wrong spot. Listen, I had $2.5 million, best practitioners in the world, 20 years. I became a practitioner, the best in our industry, 52 people, 52 practitioners, some of the best on the planet. And I still wasn't okay. So what happened was I did it at my own hand at the end. And it's really important to understand this. If I come to you and say, heal me, what I'm doing is giving up my power to heal myself. And the human body heals itself. If you put a medicine doesn't heal me, doesn't cure me. If I have a cut, I put a Band-Aid on. The Band-Aid gives my body more space to do its job, which is to heal itself. So simple little things that you can do is by yourself, first of all. We have a 15-minute stress reset that takes you 15 minutes the first time you do it. But by the time you get good at it, it takes you like 8 or 9 minutes. You do that 1 to 2 times per day, nothing else. You will have a cathartic change at the end of 28 days.
Wow, that's amazing. And I hope that our listeners can find the links in the description below and definitely follow up with themselves through this reset every single day. So that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us. And today, in India, one of the major concerns is type 2 diabetes. Unfortunately, there's so many people suffering from type 2 diabetes, and it's one of the biggest disease that everybody has. And is there something through fascial maneuvers that can help us sort of resolve this?
Absolutely. What makes type 2 diabetes worse? Stress. Remove stress from your body 1 to 2 times per day. There's not a disease on the planet that's not affected positively by removing stress twice a day. If you remove stress twice a day from your body, every disease diminishes its function. Diabetes, we have people every single day reporting to us the removal of type 2 and type 1 diabetes through fascial maneuvers and fasting. And we're not talking, this is not me claiming this. This is me reporting what thousands of people, of the hundreds of thousands of people that are going through our 28-day reset. If you had diabetes and you want to change your situation, there's a 28-day reset, which resets your entire GI tract, resets your nervous system, resets your inflammatory markers and your stress index, and it does it all in 28 days. That's the way to handle it. But we're trying to give ourselves insulin as a way to manage diabetes. Well, why do we need it? It's because our blood sugar goes. But what happens is our stress hormones go like this. Our blood sugar goes after trying to follow that. And it goes in this crash cycle. But if our stress hormones don't do this, if they just go like this, guess what our blood sugar does? It matches it. So the simplest way to handle diabetes is to take the body out of stress twice per day. The other thing that's agitating stress, especially in India right now, is the glyphosate in the food. And that glyphosate's causing protein folding issues and dehydration in the body. Plus the chemicals in the sky, one of them called barium, that's being sprayed everywhere for geoengineering. Barium depletes the body's silica. When there's silica depletion in the body can't absorb minerals. Can't absorb minerals, it doesn't process water or hormones, and hormones become dysregulated. So the thyroid goes out. So diabetes isn't the issue in India. The issue in India is autoimmune. Diabetes is becoming a symptom of this is a precursor for autoimmune. Skin conditions, rashes, rosacea, cold hands, cold feet, anxiety, depression. The diabetes is just the clinical definition of what happens when that happens, but we're measuring it at the wrong time. You got to go way to the beginning and say, this started off with me not digesting my food properly, my body being in stress, not being able to absorb, having to eat and process things that I wasn't supposed to be eating. That's the biggest issue. Diabetes is a symptom of the problem, not the problem.
Right. Absolutely. And does it differ the way we can approach fascial maneuvers according to our age? Like, is someone in their 20s or 30s going to do something different than someone in their 50s and who's just starting out with this process?
People that are in their 50s and 60s and 70s are the largest group that are adopting it right now. And then the second largest are young children directed by parents. Like we're talking from 3 years old to 12 years old, and and between 55 and 75. Those are the two largest groups that are doing it right now. And the reason why is because they have the highest need. The young children, because the grandparents are saying, hey, it worked for me, I'm going to go do it for the kids. But the in between stages are like still a little too cool for school. I don't want to do that. I want to do this. I want to live my life. I'm not too broken yet, so don't bother me. That's the attitude. So the fascial maneuvers are simple. You start off with the stress reset. If you're 90 years old, 100 years old, we have people doing it. You can do seated. You can do them laying down. There's an organ reset that anybody can do at any age. But we have kids, like we've been working with Children's Hospital Los Angeles. We've been working with schools. We've been working with colleges and universities, and we're getting it into curriculum because even just doing a simple basic totally twisted takes your stress down right away and calms the body. As a matter of fact, we do that before we do a simple breathing technique before we eat, before we drive, before we have a meeting or a conversation. So it's really simple. People find their level, start off with a basic stress reset. Everybody can do it. If you can't stand up, you can do it seated. But it's as simple as this: crossing my foot over, crossing my arm over, crossing my other arm. Try it with me. Cross your right foot over.
Yes.
Take your right foot, put it over your left. Right arm underneath your left armpit. Left arm on top. Take your head, turn it to the left. Your body, turn it to the right. We're just going to take 6 breaths together to show you. We'll take 3 through the mouth and 3 through the nose. And I'll count it out. We'll do it together. So 3, 2, 1 through the mouth. Breathe in. 2. 3. Through the nose. 2. 3. Okay, that's it. How do you feel?
Amazing.
What do you feel?
Sort of opened up through my back.
Open up your back. How do you feel
Yeah.
in your perceptions, your thoughts?
A lot more clarity, I'd say.
So all we did was 6 breaths. It all starts with 6 breaths. So if the only thing you can do is put one leg over, even just cross your feet, just cross your hands, turn your head and breathe, it starts to work. You don't have to do anything more. Like you can get the same thing. If you're sitting down, you just cross your feet, cross your hands, turn your head and breathe. Super simple, because what happens is this emulates to the body a fetal position. That's what it does. And your brain has memory, and your body knows through position and orientation how to adjust itself. Just like when you think of food, you start getting all the digestive juices flowing and stuff like that. Your body has a memory of that. And so your brain also has a memory and knows what to do when it's in that position. So in the fetal position, if you look at like skiing, right? You look at baseball or cricket or throwing, those are all counter-rotated positions. Right. Counter-rotation is the body's highest state of adaptation, to adapt the body from one state of awareness to another. So we looked at it and said, if everything in sports and life is to get power or force is in this counter-rotated position, if it's all like that, then there has to be some truth in it. And that truth is, what we found is it triggers the midbrain or the emotional center. So it wakes us up emotionally, which is why we calm down in the physical world with our thoughts and our actions. Right. So it's way deeper than a movement. A movement is, that's why people are healing. And that's why, like literally in a course of under 2 years, there's over 20 million people doing this every week.
Absolutely. That's amazing. And what would you say are some things that people can start doing first thing in the morning and the last thing before they go to sleep?
Okay, well, the stress reset, if they're short on time, one of the most effective ones is the organ reset. We could do one of the movements, the organ reset. We'll do 2 of them. Okay, take your right hand, put on your belt, go to your right 2 inches and down 2 inches. So right above the hip bone. So right. I want you to press in there. You feel a little bit of a tender spot. Feel that? Okay. In that tender spot, push in there and then turn your hand thumbs up. So you're turning the skin. Take the other hand, put it on your neck. Okay, we're going to breathe 6 times, 3 through the mouth and 3 through the nose. So 3, 2, 1, breathe into the mouth. 2, 3, with the nose. 2, 3. And let your hands shake out for a second. Tell me if you feel anything changing in your body, like maybe a low blood rush to the head.
Right. I do,
what
yeah,
else do you
slightly. Yeah, just a little bit light in the head, I'd say.
Right in the head.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing that something's changing? So give that a second, and then try to figure out what else is happening.
I think my upper back also feels a little opened up.
A little bit more open. Now, what
Yeah.
about your thoughts?
Pretty calmer than before.
Yeah. And does the room look any brighter, sharper?
Yeah, sure does. Brighter.
Okay. So now let's take another one. Take your right hand, put it on your belly button. Go to your left hip 2 inches, down 2 inches. Pull that, dig in there, and pull the skin upwards towards your belly button. Okay. Take your left hand, put it behind you. And then we'll do the same thing. So 3, 2, 1, breathe into the mouth. 2, 3, through the nose. 2, 3. Let go. Rest your hands. Did your brain calm down a lot?
Absolutely.
But your brain was already calm a second ago. You see how it comes in layers, right?
Right.
So we don't even know how much stress we're really in until we take ourselves out of stress. You don't know how
True.
good something is to lose it. So let's do one more to clear up. This is for jaw, head, neck tension. Put your thumb in your ear. Grab the ear so you can twist it. It's like your mom twisting your ear and pulling it. Other one. Okay. So we're going to twist the ear. We're going to turn it really hard so you can see it's like twisting and hold it. So it's forward as far as you can. Should hurt a little bit. Open and close your mouth 3 times. Look up. Open and close 3 times. Chin to chest. Open and close 3 times. With your chin at your chest, look up to your right like you're swimming. Open and close 3 times. Look up to your left. Open and close 3 times. Okay, now let your hands go. Move your head and neck around. Move your hands like this. It simulates walking through the body. So that's the way your body integrates it. Move your neck around. What do you notice now?
I feel like my jaw is much more opened up.
Yeah. Take a step around and see if your ankle and your feet and your hips feel open.
Yeah, they do.
So these are simple little things that anybody can do at any time, and they have a radical impact on your body. Like this is like going to a yoga class for an hour, and here you are, you're looser. You've just done 2 breathing exercises and 1 in the ear. That's all you've done. So it's looking at the top system in the body. The top system is fascia. Everything in the body goes to the fascia as a connection to understand how to work with everything else. So it's the connective between us, not only the connective tissue from a mechanical standpoint, but it's a living matrix. It's a web that's constantly dynamically moving. And it has an interstitium, which is called the brain. And that brain, like I said earlier, is 100 trillion nerve endings. It's 1,000 times more powerful than this brain. So what we say in science today and what we practice in mindful practices now is we're saying that this is 100 billion, this is 100 trillion. So it's like saying that our watch, we have a Casio shock watch, and that watch is running the space station. That's what we say when we say that this is in charge. And when we do other practices, even mindful practices, we're using this one. But if we want the mind to be calm, we can overpower it with meditation. Meditation is great. Not knocking meditation or not knocking yoga, but if I clear my fascia, if I do my stress reset, then I do my yoga. And then
Right.
afterwards, because the muscles get tight, quickly do the stress reset again. Now I'm working all systems in the body and I'm getting 100 times the results very, very quickly. And I went from being, if you watch the videos, I went from being a bigger guy. Like I've been 215, 230 my whole life. And I went from I literally got fat when I stopped working out because I worked out my whole life. And then to like completely lean, completely muscular. I don't do anything else. And I have flexibility, unbelievable. I can dislocate all my joints. I can take my arm and flip my shoulder blade. And this is the way we're meant to be. This is how we are when we're kids. Our bodies are supposed to be like this. You look at our before and after photos of anybody that's practicing, they get younger. You got younger in your photo in the 2 times that you've done it. Your face became more symmetrical, which means you present more beauty to the world.
True.
So why wouldn't people do this?
Absolutely. And it really doesn't even take that much time of your day. I mean, once you get used to these, I feel like it's a lot more easier to do. And just a few minutes a day is something we should definitely, invest our time in.
Well, we invest our time in all kinds of things that are unhealthy for us every day. We sit there on
Absolutely.
our phones and do this all day. We sit here at computers and we do this. And here's the best part. If you're at your desk and your computer, you got a seated fascial maneuver. So you can do the same thing seated. So all of them can be done seated as well. So you don't even have to leave your desk.
Exactly.
So
Absolutely.
what fascial maneuvers are doing is that when we in life, we're normally moving and moving around and we're walking. This is the way we're supposed to. We raise our shoulders, we climb up stuff. We stop doing that. Like who raises their arms anymore? You only raise your arms like if you're at a concert or the police have got you. That's the only time you ask a question, which we don't like to do in society anymore. So that's the only time we ever raise our arms. But if we don't raise our arms, this whole area of movement stops, which means it stops this area of movement. So fascial maneuvers, what they're doing is they're restricting the fascia, and then when you breathe, the breath with intention becomes the therapist. It forces the fascia to move internally in your body in these spiraling patterns. And so basically, you're actually getting your body to do the work. Otherwise, you got to get your mind to do the work, and you got to run on a treadmill. But we have a thing called a pretzel squat. And if
Right.
you do a pretzel squat, you'll get the same constriction and dilation, the same volume through your lungs as if you would run on a treadmill for 20 minutes and it's only 12 breaths.
Wow.
You want to try that one?
Sure, we can.
Hey, it's a little trickier, but we can do it. I'm sure we can. So I'll show you me. Take your left foot and pin it out to your right foot, so you're on a T. Step out 3 feet, kind of like warrior. So like
Right.
warrior, you go like this, but you lock the knee. So left foot teed, step out 3 feet. Okay, turn your whole body, tighten your core, squeeze up your root lock, turn your entire body to your left. Reach out with your right hand. Reach out as far as you can. Okay, I'll instruct to take your left hand, put it on your bum cheek, and then fall into the center. So just lean into the center and you'll feel a stretch on the back of your left leg. Okay, take your right hand, put it on your left shoulder. Take your left hand, palm up, put it up on your back as far as you can. Turn your head backwards or to your right and take both knees and bend them and squat. Okay, now breathe in really hard, 6 breaths through your mouth. Switch your arms, turn your head to the left. Breathe in 6 breaths again. Come on up. This one you may need to walk around a little bit. So just move around, walk around a little bit. I like to walk a figure 8. What do you notice? Are you breathing hard?
Yeah, a little, yes.
All your circulation is going?
Yeah, my complete body has been engaged.
Yeah. Complete body is being engaged. It's like a little bit of breath going, right? That's 12 breaths. Can you imagine if you were to do both sides and then do that with the rest of the practice? All of a sudden, you replace that 15 to 20 minutes you go to the gym and you get on a treadmill or an elliptical machine before you work out to warm yourself up. That's your warm up. And it's better because it gets the full body engaged.
Right.
And you do that in just 12 breaths.
Absolutely. That was amazing.
It's pretty incredible, huh?
It does get you into that, powerful mode for your workout as well. So that's a great thing to do before.
So for you, since you're a Sagittarius, your predisposition is your gallbladder. Okay. So
Right.
take your right hand, put it on your center bone. Go down your rib cage slightly to the right. Right where it turns. Right in there, push in there. Okay, turn it a little bit. Anytime you get indigestion, stomach upset, which is common for Sagittarius, take your left hand, put it there. And we'll breathe in 6 times. So breathe into your mouth. 2, 3, through your nose. 2, 3. Put a little intention in there and say, I no longer want to hold resentment or anger in my body. Say that.
I no longer want to hold anger and resentment in my body.
I'm letting it go now.
I'm letting it go now.
Okay, good. You let that go. What does that feel like?
Much better. I feel like my stomach also feels a lot more at ease.
Right, because stomach is Sagittarius and gallbladder is what agitates the stomach for a Sagittarius. So I know that as a Sagittarius, you have a longer torso and shorter legs. And that makes the predisposition for this area to be weaker from a mechanical standpoint. And
Right.
so for you, when you get indigestion, upset stomach, worry, because worry is a thing that you do. And when you worry about the past, it's resentment. When you worry about the future, it's fear. So that's a Sagittarius trait. And you're all about leadership. I know that from looking at your chart. So you're all about leadership. And so worry is something that comes along naturally. So learning how to balance those emotions out in your body is super important.
Absolutely. That
And
was
everybody
amazing.
and everybody has their own formula. So there is no right or wrong, but there's a series of maneuvers that you can do, and they're based around 10 essential fascial maneuvers, which all 10 maneuvers, what they do is they work every joint in the body gets worked through those 10 maneuvers. So if you just did the 10, everything would work out eventually. But then we have hundreds and hundreds of hacks for the elbows, hacks for the fingers, for the face, clear sinuses, reduce TMJ pain, get rid of migraines. And that's why people all over the world are doing it right now, because the healthcare system has no solution for these other than medication. And the other
Absolutely.
solution is I got to go to some expensive doctor somewhere, and I'm not going to be able to get in right away. So I got to wait. So I'm going to wait in pain to go see them. This doesn't work that way anymore. It was only 60, 70 years ago, especially in India, where all of the cures were by the mothers. In India, you still have a lot of this there. The mothers and grandmothers are giving remedies, but the rest of the world doesn't have that anymore. And even in India, it's going away because they're like, oh, that's old. That's all tradition. That's a wives' tale. That's like, yeah, that's my mom, my grandmother, my mother. And the younger generation is not believing in it anymore, your generation. But that accounted for over 80% of the healthcare in the world was done by the mothers and by the fathers and by the grandmothers, particularly in community. Now,
True.
98% of the healthcare is done by a practitioner, a clinician, whether they're a natural, organic, whether they're a medical doctor, whether they're a spiritual coach. Like the majority of it's done by them now. Something's wrong because that means that we've given up our own autonomy to take care of our health. That's what's wrong with sight. That's why we're so sick, is because we put our health, our well-being, and our understanding in the hands of other people, which makes us feel helpless when we're in pain. And being able to remove your pain from your own body is a sense of empowerment. Like, how do you feel right now?
Absolutely empowered, yeah.
Yeah. And you've just done a couple movements.
True, very true. And I had another doubt regarding this is that, are we supposed to do this on an empty stomach, or is it okay to do it at any point of the day?
Any point of the day. Like the quite often, if I'm eating and I get disrupted, I'll do the organ reset. We did some of them. The full one takes about 10 minutes or 7 minutes, depending on if you can do it. You can do as little as 6 minutes. But the organ reset is something I would do if I was eating and I got a disrupted stomach. But I'd also do the organ reset. I do it every night before I go to bed, because we have our sleep studies show that you drop into your REM sleep within about 45 minutes when you do an organ reset. If you don't, it takes 3 to 4 hours to drop into REM sleep. So in other words, people sleep longer and better deep sleep just by doing a 7-minute organ reset. It's called the fascial organ reset. And these are all available on our YouTube. Very simple. You can just go to the YouTube and do it. And what was surprising us is that our online numbers and our offline numbers, they don't even begin to match. We have 10 times the amount of people offline doing it every day than we did online, because the people online went and showed 3 or 4 people that are now doing it offline that have never even come to our website or come to our YouTube channel or whatever. I'm not a guy who learns from videos, ironically. Like I learned from somebody showing me or telling me I try it. So ironically, we distribute this through videos, but there are people that show people through videos, and that's where most of our work gets done.
True. Absolutely. And that was my next question to you, is that what is the best thing, the easiest thing that someone can do before going to bed to downregulate the nervous system and in a few minutes?
Organ, yeah, fascial organ reset.
Right.
If you were to go to an acupuncturist and they were to tone out your body and say, okay, here's all the needles I'm going to do today based on what I see, and you do the organ reset in 7 minutes, 80% of their treatment is already done. And we have doctors of Chinese medicine all over the planet that have been trialing this. Now they all give it out to their patients, because the doctor doesn't want to spend that 80% of their time doing stuff that the person could do. Every practitioner, their wish is that people would actually take care of themselves. They're not there trying to get your money. They're there trying to help you, but people are generally don't know what to do, so they don't do anything.
Absolutely. And to end with, the last thing I want to know is that what are some absolute big no's that we should immediately stop doing that are like harming our fascia in a bad way?
The chemicals in your food. We should not be ingesting any chemicals or any modified food. There's not even a question. I've seen a couple on your podcast when I went and take a look, talking about foods and diets. And some guys said, eat organic when you can. Don't eat if it's not organic. Do not put it in your body. That is where our problems are. Your generation is the third generation born chemically confused. If you want to see what something happens to genetics, you don't look at the person taking it. You look at their grandchildren. Your grandparents were the first generation to have chemicals in their diets. Now look at the facts. Every disease in the history of mankind is at its peak: mental, physical, emotional, everything. Cancer, diabetes, mental disorders, ADD, ADHD, spectrum, autism is at its peak. There's only one thing that's consistent in every country: is chemicals in our food.
True.
And there is no acceptance. If you're putting chemicals in your body, it's not a trade-off. You will be sick 100%. There is no way that, and people go, my grandparents, they ate like this their whole life. Yeah, but they also grew up with a foundation of food that wasn't chemically induced. Your generation was born into it. It was in your DNA when you're born. It was being consumed while you're in the womb. You don't have the luxury. That's why young women today have rashes, rosacea, eczema, cold hands, cold feet. They get depressed, anxious. They have all these issues going on, and they're sedating it with creams and with programs and doing mindfulness and all this. But they're like 18, 19, 20, 22, 25 years old. doing all this stuff to be okay. When I was a kid, we were okay. We didn't have to do anything. Nobody did. There was no depression. There was no anxiety. There was no ADHD when I was a kid. I'm 54 years old. None of that existed. Today, everybody has it. There is no exceptions to this. We've developed this culture in society that says, it's okay, and we gradually just do things. It's like boiling a frog. Frogs are cold-blooded, a reptilian. If you put it in a pot of cold water and you slowly turn up the temperature, you can boil it to death before it jumps out. That same frog, if you throw it in a pot of hot water, it jumps out. We have had the temperature turned up on us slowly over the years. And your generation is getting the brunt of it right now. The only way through this is to remove the chemicals. There is no solution other than that. Fascial Maneuvers is a tool to reduce the stress in the body. And Fascial Maneuvers is still not the only answer. Fascial Maneuvers just gets the body back to movement. Movement is our answer, but proper movement and moving in nature is really the answer.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Gary, once again for being here today. This brings us to the end of our podcast. And are there any last messages or thoughts that you'd like to leave us with today?
Last message is the human body was designed to heal itself. There's not a practitioner or a medication on the planet that can heal you. Take control of your own health. Otherwise, your health will take control of you.
Absolutely. That's a really powerful message. Thank you for sharing that with us. And for the audience who don't know Human Garage yet, which is very rare, I'm sure you must have already come across them on Instagram and on YouTube. And they're the amazing fashion maneuvers. You can find the details in description below, all the maneuvers that Gary just told us in this episode. And you can definitely go and research yourself, do it yourself, practice them, and feel the results like I did in just 2 weeks. And I can't wait to dive more into it with my family as well. So I hope that our audience does do that, and they do and practice these for themselves. So thank you so much once again, Mr. Gary, for being here today.
Pleasure.
That's it for today's episode. I am Sakshi Pawar, and I'll be your host for the Settle or Be Better podcast. So stay tuned while we bring more inspiring stories your way. You know the drill. Subscribe to the Settle or Be Better podcast. Like, share, and comment on our videos. And hit the bell icon, because you don't want to miss the mind-boggling health discussions we're about to bring for you. Why settle when you can be better?